Have you ever sat with someone you love, maybe your spouse, your brother, or even your old neighbor and thought, they've changed, but I can't quite put my finger on it? It's not always something dramatic. Sometimes, it's a look in the eyes, a pause in conversation, or a quiet shift in their routine that whispers more than words ever could. Growing older is a journey we all walk together, but it's not always easy to recognize when a loved one may be nearing the final stretch of that path, and let's be honest, it's not something most of us want to think about. But awareness doesn't mean giving up hope. It means being present, being kind, and knowing how to make every moment count, because sometimes, what seems small is actually very important. Today, we're going to talk about 8 subtle signs that an elderly loved one may be in their final year of life. These aren't meant to scare you, they're here to gently guide you, to help you notice the quiet signals, so you can respond with love, with care, and with a sense of peace instead of panic. Let's begin by talking about something that often slips under the radar: a noticeable decline in appetite. You might have seen it happen slowly. That full plate of food they used to love now goes half-touched. The tea sits cold in the cup. They start saying, "I'm not really hungry," more often than not. At first, it might seem like nothing. We all lose interest in food now and then, especially when we're tired or not feeling well. But in older adults, a steady drop in appetite, especially if it's paired with noticeable weight loss, can signal that the body is starting to wind down. It's not just about food, though it's about energy. Food is fuel, and when someone stops fueling their body, it tells us a lot. They may be losing the drive to sustain themselves, not out of depression necessarily, but because their internal systems are slowly beginning to shut down. The senses change. Food doesn't taste the same. Swallowing may even become uncomfortable, and sometimes, they simply don't want to eat because their body is whispering, "Rest now." That's why, if you notice this, try not to force food. Instead, shift the focus. Offer favorite bites in small portions. Choose softer foods that are easier to swallow. And most of all, sit with them. Sometimes, the act of sharing a moment is far more nourishing than the food itself. Now, let's talk about something many of us have brushed off: a growing need for sleep, or long periods of fatigue. We all get tired, but if your loved one starts spending more and more time in bed, or dozing off in the middle of conversations or meals, that's something to pay attention to. This kind of deep fatigue isn't just from a bad night's sleep. It's a deeper exhaustion, one that doesn't go away with rest. It can feel like their body is trying to preserve energy, as if it's prioritizing the most essential functions and quietly letting go of the rest. You might hear them say, "I just don't have the energy for that anymore." Even for things they used to love, doing gardening, reading the paper, talking on the phone. That spark slowly fades into a quiet dimness. This can be one of the most difficult changes to witness. You want to encourage them, get them up and moving, maybe even tempt them with something joyful. But sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is simply honor where they are. Let them rest. Be by their side. Sit quietly, hold their hand, and let them feel safe, not rushed or pushed. Because at this stage, presence means everything. But there's something else that might catch your eye. If you're paying close attention, it's a shift in personality or behavior, subtle but telling. Maybe your father, who was always quick with a joke, becomes quiet. Your mother, who always remembered birthdays and holidays, suddenly forgets who called yesterday. It's easy to chalk it up to old age or a bad day, but when it becomes consistent, it may be the body and mind slowly separating from the world. You may notice mood swings, frustration that wasn't there before, a look in their eyes like they're somewhere far away, even when they're sitting right next to you. These aren't always signs of dementia or confusions. Sometimes they're signs of inner reflection, of preparing to let go, whether they fully realize it or not. Some people even become unusually peaceful or talk about seeing loved ones who've passed away. I once sat with a dear friend who began asking about his late sister every morning, as if she were just in the next room. He smiled when he spoke of her, not in sadness, but in anticipation. It gave me chills, not fear, but a quiet sense of awe, like he was looking at a door I couldn't see. These shifts aren't something to fear. They're part of the soul's way of preparing, and our role is to hold space with love and compassion. Be patient. Let them speak without correcting. Let them dream without reminding. And if they do speak about people long gone, listen with your heart. Sometimes, those conversations are more real to them than anything else. So far, we've talked about appetite changes, deep fatigue, and personality shifts, all of which may quietly signal that the final chapter of life is drawing near. None of these signs mean that hope is gone. Quite the opposite. They mean it's time to focus on comfort, on meaning, on connection. It's a time to draw closer, not to pull away in fear. And if you've noticed any of these signs in someone you love, take a moment to breathe. Don't panic. Just begin to notice. Observe. Offer your presence more than your plans. Offer your hand more than your advice. Because in these moments, it's not about fixing, it's about being. Now that we've gently walked through these first few signs, let's keep going. There's more to look out for, and more ways you can offer comfort, love, and peace to someone nearing life's final season. Let's continue together. Asterisk. When someone we care about begins to change before our eyes, it can feel like standing in a quiet room where everything familiar is just a little different. You might not be able to explain it, but your heart knows something is shifting. Asterisk. Let's continue where we left off, gently exploring more of these subtle signs, not to create fear, but to bring awareness. Because understanding brings peace, and peace helps us offer the right kind of love. Asterisk. One of the signs that often slips by unnoticed is a growing withdrawal from social activities and relationships. You might have seen it happen gradually: less interest in visiting the grandchildren, fewer phone calls, skipping church or family dinners, even ignoring birthday cards or the usual chats with old friends. It's easy to assume they're just tired, or maybe feeling under the weather, but sometimes it goes deeper than that. Asterisk. When someone starts to feel like their time is limited, whether they consciously know it or not, there's often an emotional turning inward. The need for quiet becomes stronger than the need for conversation. They may begin to reflect more than they engage. It's not because they don't love you anymore. In fact, it's usually the opposite. They're processing things, settling memories, wrapping up unfinished thoughts. Asterisk. Think of it like the last few pages of a well-loved book. The action slows, the moments deepen. The space between the words becomes more important. So instead of pushing them to be social, meet them where they are. Sit beside them without needing to fill the silence. Just being present can speak louder than any words. Asterisk. Another quiet signal is a noticeable decline in mobility or coordination, even without a specific illness or injury. You might notice them struggling more to get out of a chair, walking more slowly, holding onto walls or furniture more than they used to. Maybe they fall more often, or seem to move with hesitation, as if their balance just isn't what it once was. Asterisk. This can be a sign that the body is slowing down in a deeper way. Muscles weaken, reflexes slow, and even basic coordination becomes harder. It's not about aging in general. This is different. This is when a once steady person suddenly starts looking unsure on their feet, even scared of stairs or rugs they used to walk over with ease. Asterisk. If you see this, your instinct might be to get them up and moving. And yes, staying active is important. But in this phase, safety and comfort take priority. Make the home easier to navigate. Use softer lighting, non-slip mats, a sturdy cane, or walker if needed. The goal isn't to push them, it's to make their world feel safe and manageable, no matter how small that world may become. Asterisk. And then, there's something more: subtle changes in breathing patterns. This one can be easy to overlook, especially if it happens gradually. But if you pay attention, you may hear it: the shallow breaths, the longer pauses between inhales, a soft wheeze, or gasp, even when they're just sitting still. Asterisk. You might notice them sighing more often, or struggling to catch their breath after the smallest task, like walking across the room or getting dressed. These are signs that the lungs and heart may not be working together as strongly as they once did. It's the body's way of conserving energy, prioritizing oxygen for just the essentials. Asterisk. If this happens, create a calming environment. Keep rooms cool and well ventilated. Offer a comfortable chair where they can sit upright. Most importantly, stay calm. Your presence helps regulate their emotions, which can in turn help their breathing ease. And if you ever feel unsure, don't hesitate to talk to a doctor, even just for peace of mind. Asterisk. Let's pause here for a moment, not to dwell on worry, but to appreciate how precious this awareness really is. The more we notice these subtle shifts, the more we can offer dignity and grace during what may be the final chapter. This doesn't mean giving up. It means showing up with more understanding, more patience, and a deeper sense of purpose. Asterisk. One of the most powerful things you can do right now is simply slow down. Listen more, touch gently, speak kindly. These small acts become sacred in moments like these. It's not about changing what's happening, it's about changing how we respond to what's happening. Asterisk. Because at the end of the day, you're loved. One doesn't need you to have all the answers. They just need to know they're not walking this part of the path alone. Asterisk. And as we move forward together, there are a few more signs to look for, quiet signs that carry deep meaning. Let's continue this journey side by side. Asterisk. As we continue this conversation together, I want to remind you this isn't about predicting the future or labeling someone's life with a countdown. This is about love, about paying attention, about knowing when it's time to shift from fixing to simply being there. Because when you know what to look for, you can respond with calm, with care, and with quiet strength. Asterisk. Let's talk now about a sign that often breaks our hearts the most: confusion, restlessness, or moments of disorientation. You may find your loved one awake in the middle of the night, unsure of where they are. They might start wandering through the house, fiddling with their blanket, picking at the bed covers, or asking questions that don't quite make sense. Asterisk. This can feel scary, especially if the person has always been clear-headed. You might think, is this dementia? Is something wrong with their mind? But the truth is, toward the end of life, Even people without dementia can experience something called terminal restlessness. It's not madness, it's the body and brain trying to adjust, trying to settle, trying to let go. Asterisk sometimes. They may talk about things that sound strange, seeing people who aren't there, insisting on leaving, or asking to go home, even when they're in their own bed. This can be emotionally difficult, but it's also deeply meaningful. Many believe this is the soul preparing itself, making peace, trying to tie up its final threads before release. Asterisk, if you see this happening, try not to correct or argue. Speak softly, offer reassurance. Hold their hand. Let them know they're safe. Turn down the lights. Keep the room calm, and remember they aren't confused to cause frustration. They're walking through a fog that they themselves don't fully understand. Asterisk now. Let's turn to something many people don't talk about, but it matters. A fading interest in personal care. Maybe your loved one stops brushing their hair, changing their clothes, or even resisting help with bathing. You might think they're just being stubborn or lazy, but in many cases, it's a quiet sign that they no longer have the energy or the will to maintain the routines they once valued. Asterisk 4. Someone who always dressed neatly or kept their home spotless. This change can feel especially hard to witness. But try to see it differently. They aren't giving up, they're simply prioritizing. When energy becomes limited, they use it for what matters most to them. That might be resting, watching the birds outside, or just sitting quietly without effort. Asterisk so instead of pushing them to keep up appearances, help in gentle ways. Offer a warm, soft washcloth to freshen up. Bring them clean clothes that feel comfortable, not formal. Keep their environment tidy but peaceful. What matters now is not how things look, but how they feel. Asterisk. And finally, perhaps the most sacred sign of all, the one that often comes last, a growing sense of peace or acceptance. You might feel it before they ever say a word. The struggle softens, the fear fades. There's a quiet in their eyes that you didn't see before, as if something deep inside has let go. Asterisk. Some people even speak about death openly. They may say they're ready. They may want to talk about old memories, or tell you things they've kept inside for years. They may ask for forgiveness, or offer it. Others may not say much at all, but you'll notice it in the way they smile softly, sleep more soundly, or breathe a little more calmly. Asterisk. This is a sacred time, and your role is just to be there. You don't need to fix, or rush, or cheerlead. You simply need to love them, quietly and fully. Sit with them, stroke their hair, whisper prayers, songs, or stories. Tell them they're not alone, that they're loved, that they've lived a good life. Asterisk. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, I'm here, it's okay. You can rest now. Asterisk. And as we bring this conversation to a close, I want you to remember something important. None of these signs mean giving up on life. They mean honoring it. They mean recognizing the transition from doing to being, from striving to simply being present. Asterisk. Watching someone you love walk toward their final year is one of the most emotional journeys you can take. It comes with sorrow, yes, but it also comes with deep beauty, with closeness, with the kind of love that only grows stronger when words start to fade. Asterisk. So hold on to that love. Let it guide your hands when you're helping them up. Let it soften your voice when they forget something. Let it shine in your eyes when they look at you, wondering if you still see them the same way. Asterisk. You do, and you always will. Asterisk. If you've seen any of these signs in someone close to you, I want you to take a moment to breathe. Let go of guilt. Let go of the pressure to always do the right thing. Your presence is enough. Your love is enough. Asterisk. And if you've walked this path before, I honor you. If you're walking it now, I stand with you. And if that time ever comes in the future, may this awareness give you strength, peace, and clarity. Asterisk. You are not alone. And neither is your loved one. Asterisk. If this video brought you comfort, or helped you feel more prepared, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe you've noticed some of these signs yourself, or maybe you have a story or a piece of wisdom that could help someone else going through the same thing. Let's be a community that supports one another. Asterisk. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We create gentle, honest, and hopeful content for people just like you, because aging isn't the end of the story. It's just a new chapter, one that deserves to be lived with grace, dignity, and love. Asterisk. Thank you for spending this time with me. From my heart to yours, here's to living with compassion, to walking each other home with peace, and to finding beauty even in the quietest moments. Asterisk. You're not alone. You never were. Asterisk.